Player One. Welcome to the Gaming History Club. My name is Gabby.
Hello, and I'm JP. In today's episode, we fly through the history of Microsoft.
So, JP, let me ask you this very important question. Where did you learn to fly?
Oh, hitting us deep with the gaming references. I love it, I love it. Player One, if you understand that reference, I'm so proud of you.
No, actually, that's the dark side of the gaming history.
Yeah, I don't even remember, what was Cybermorph, I think.
Cybermorph.
Yeah, Cybermorph, Atari Jaguar.
Yes. So, where did you learn to fly?
So I got my wings in GTA 5, actually. No, San Andreas. That's the first one with a flight school.
Yes,
That-
that's true.
That's where I learned how to fly, in the early 2000s.
But yes, Player One, who wouldn't love to fly a plane, right? Except me, because I would have like such an anxiety attack if I have to be a pilot. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm always curious what would happen if, we're on a flight and the pilot and the co-pilot, both at the same time, they suffer some serious medical condition. And then obviously the stewardess, the head stewardess will ask, does anyone know how to fly a plane? And me, obviously, I'll be the first one with my hand up. Let me do this. I can do this. I can fly the plane. It would be exciting. It would be exciting. I mean, it wouldn't go well, but it's still.
count me out.
Count you out. No, you'd have to be there to help me as co-pilot, yeah.
That's such a funny thing because I read a research somewhere. I can't really remember where did it come from, but yeah, someone actually said majority of men feels like they are actually able to fly a plane if the pilots are just not able to fly it for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fun and games, but I know at the end of the day, I definitely could not. Like, no way. No way. I think it's so much different flying like a big passenger plane to like, a regular one engine plane.
Yeah.
It's so different. I don't think even like, like not amateur pilots, but like small time pilots, I don't think even they could probably do it. I mean, they'd be the best suited to try at least. But yeah, it's gonna be tough, right?
But yeah, some of us definitely determined people become real pilots. But what about the rest of us?
Yeah, us citizens. I mean, I feel like video games and flying is like the perfect matchup because there's so many like controls, and they're all like, I mean, as a pilot, they're all in front of you, and you've got like so many buttons and knobs and dials. Especially if you think about like virtual reality, like nowadays, yeah, like nowadays, definitely you can simulate the entire thing. Not the physical feedback of like, oh, the plane's going up, so you feel like you're going up in the chair. Like that's a little bit more difficult. But just to put you in the pilot's seat and simulate on a software level, yeah, it's a match made in heaven, isn't it? And it's so
Yeah.
exciting, yeah.
That's true. And you can actually see all of the tiny details and all of that beauty of flying a real plane without actually putting anyone in danger, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, we've learned so much now compared to like back in the day. What causes like turbulence, and weather patterns and stuff, and how does it affect the plane? Obviously, we've come so far as well in terms of the science behind flying. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we're interested to talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator in particular today, because although we don't usually talk about a single game, but we think this is a really interesting franchise for us to bring up in Gaming History Club.
Totally, yeah. I mean, some would even say that it's the longest running gaming franchise that's still running because it's so old and they're still releasing games now.
Yeah, that's true. But how did it all start? It started with Bruce Artwick, who was an avid aviator. He studied at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where he completed his bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering back in 1976. So, no, not from pilot school. But here, Bruce roomed together with Stu Moment, who enrolled at the university's Institute of Aviation to start his flying career. During the time, they roomed together with dozen other students in a big old house dubbed Gamma Ray Zappa.
They were both pilots, by the way. They were both pilots. They both got their wings, as they call it, super early in their lives. Yeah, they both they even owned a plane together. I think by '83.
Right. So, long-time listeners will be quite familiar probably with the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. It's the home of the Plato computer system or program logic for automatic teaching operations. So, that's the first of its kind and in many ways the grandpa of the internet.
And it was on Plato that many games, first of their kind, would be created on, including the 3D games that we talked about in our previous episode, first person games, and many multiplayer concepts, multiplayer arena style games. They were the first to make some of those, but they were still out of reach for the general public. So it's very much a very lucky group of players confined to the universities. Among those games was Airfight 3D, the first ever 3D flight simulator and the first multiplayer flight simulator too. Airfight 3D was developed by Brant Fortner and Kevin Gorey in 1974, and this game is likely to have inspired Bruce Ardwick for his master thesis. Bruce researched at the Aviation Research Laboratory, Institute of Aviation at Urbana-Champaign. In his thesis, he created a real-time flight simulator on the PDP-11, a software project of fast 3D graphics projection in the Fortran programming language, and to be used with computer hardware to create dynamic displays. He aimed for the project to be usable for software flight simulation without expensive graphics hardware. His finished thesis was called A Versatile Computer-Generated Dynamic Flight Display, and we'll leave a link in the description if you fancy looking up the original thesis as well.
Yeah, luckily the game was not actually called a versatile computer generated dynamic flight display, but flight simulator, because that's a lot simpler.
Bit of a mouthful.
I know, yeah. But yeah, after graduation in 1977, Bruce Ardwick and Stu Moment decided to form a company together called Sublogic. Their first software product was 3D microcomputer graphics for the 6800 processor, which could be used for graphics applications similar to current CAD computer aided design programs. So they assist with creating, modifying, and optimizing 3D designs. Around the late 1979, Sublogic published the animation package 3D microcomputer graphics for Apple II. That's their first program for the Apple II computer. It was distributed on one cassette tape, but later also in floppy disk format.
These two guys really need to work on their naming conventions. 3D microcomputer graphics for the 6800 processor, animation package 3D microcomputer graphics for Apple II. I guess it is very business to the point. I mean, yeah, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, what it says on the tin.
What it says on the tin.
Makes it easier, right? Yeah, in this animation package, the animation package 3D microcomputer graphics for Apple II. God, that is such a long one.
Say that 10 times fast.
This animation package included what we could call the first public demo of Microsoft Flight Simulator, although it wasn't playable as it was only meant for demonstrating the animation package that they made.
Call it a video demo.
Yes, like trailer, but just give you a little bit of taste of what's to come.
Yeah, but people didn't know that it was going to be a game. This was just to show off the 3D animations package for the kind of like CAD design-ish program, right?
Yeah.
No one knew that this would actually turn into a flight simulator eventually.
No, because the demo itself only depicted 14 still pictures of a flying area with 6 mountains and an airport location, and the flying area is 5x6 grids.
Yeah, and it was in glorious black and white, line, pixely kind of graphics as well, obviously, for the time. That's just, I mean, it says there's 6 mountains in there, but, it's left up to your imagination a little bit, we might say.
It's just big pixels.
Yeah, very big pixels. Yeah, so Flight Simulator 1 would be released in 1980 for the Apple II computer, And yeah, it was Flight Simulator. Microsoft was not in the picture just yet.
Mm-hmm.
There are varying accounts to the exact date of release as well, but Stu Moment has verified it was in fact January 1980. Having written several apology letters to eager fans, depressed they couldn't fly out in time for Christmas of 79, because some sources would say it was released in 79, and it was slated to be, but it was a little bit delayed. The game was a huge success and has sold more copies than any other flight simulator of any kind in the world at the time. Most importantly, it brought the experience into people's homes for the first time. It's rumored to have been the Apple II's best-selling program. The whole program is about 13 kilobytes large and fits on one cassette tape. The game was displayed in two colors, black and white, and a first-person view, so you couldn't even see your own plane yet at this first flight simulator game. While there are no clouds, no solid 3D objects, no time, no radio comms, no scenery, all essential controls and instruments are present though, including gauges for airspeed, altitude, vertical velocity, heading, turn rate, and so on. Even stalling is simulated. Sublogic advertised that the $25 FS1 is a visual flight simulator that gives you realistic, stable aircraft control.
Oh,
With a graphics engine capable of drawing 150 lines per second, respectable. And yeah, it was realistic at the time. It
Yeah.
was, yeah. All the essential controls and instruments are present. It, yeah, certainly was realistic for what they could probably do.
I feel like the Flight Simulator 1 was actually looking very difficult, in my honest opinion, because it's a lot of just control. Like, it's all really depending on how well you know about airplane control.
Yeah, certainly. I think any flight simulator game is probably very hard to get into if you've never had any exposure to any flight simulator. I'm sure that difficulty levels are like presence, or like if you're very casual, it probably minimizes like the amount of stuff you have to do before you can just take off with the plane and so on. But yeah, no doubt. Like I've had a little bit of a go on flight simulator. Very daunting first time you
Yeah.
try. Yeah.
It's just a lot to learn. Like, there definitely is a learning curve to do.
Well, it is a simulator at the end of the day.
Yes, that's very true. That's a fair point. Yeah. So, following the success of Flight Simulator, IBM and another company that is still very small, coming from Redmond, approached Sublogic for an exclusive license for a version of the game for the new IBM PC. And Bruce Hardwick decided to go with this small company, which turned out to be Microsoft, by the way. It was Bill Gates that approached him because it was a nice small company atmosphere. Right. Okay. Very nice small company indeed, isn't it?
Well, we all started small at some point,
I
didn't we?
know.
But it's interesting how early in Microsoft's life they approached Bruce Outwick to get the rights for Flight Simulator, yeah?
Yeah, that's true because Flight Simulator 1 was released in November 1982, and that's for the PC version. That's 2 years before Windows. So, this version of Flight Simulator 1, featuring a much improved graphics engine, got four colors, variable weather, and time of day. So, that's actually a much improved version of the Apple II version.
A significant bump, yeah, both graphically and also on a feature level.
Yeah, and they even said on the ads, if flying your IBM PC got any more realistic, you'd need a license. I love that. And they also promised a full color out the window flight display. So this version of Flight Simulator actually includes more than 20 airports with varied terrain.
Full color. It had four colors.
I
They
know.
did it in full color, unless you like purple.
Probably four colors CMYK, and they start combining everything, so it's full color indeed. Anyway, the game was even used to test if a computer was IBM PC compatible or not,
That's right.
and it was also one of the first DOS games.
Yeah, this just comes to show how old Microsoft Flight Simulator is, and also a reason why we chose this instead of talking about flight simulators as a whole.
Yep.
As Bruce Artwick explained himself in interviews, the progress of computer technology was so quick, observing Moore's law, that flight simulator games became increasingly and rapidly impressive graphically. It's fair to say that Flight Simulator's popularity had computer manufacturers pick up a faster pace to provide more storage and faster processing for personal computers early on, to enable the game to be run in its full glory. It was one of the killer apps that if you own a PC, well, but can it run Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Yeah, it's the benchmark, isn't it?
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
before Doom, but can it run Doom? No, no. Can it run Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Oh, can it run Cyberpunk 2077 back then?
Can it run Crysis? That's the other one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Flight Simulator 2 was released in 1984 and added support for joystick and mouse inputs, RGB monitors, and LCD displays for early laptops. Very early laptops. 1984 had laptops. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet they were very, very heavy and very big.
Yeah. Not really for your lap, is it?
Flight Simulator 3 released in 1988, adding additional planes and airports to the simulated area. It also allowed for gamers to customize the display with multiple windows that could display instruments, control panel, a map view, and different camera angles. So yeah, Flight Simulator 3 also a big, big bump up in what Flight Simulator can do now. And also very customizable. Like, do you want to see the map here? Do you want a different camera angle in this corner of the screen? Yeah, very cool stuff actually. Very, very advanced for games. I mean, it is a simulator, but it's definitely a game too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah. Flight Simulator 4 released in 1989 and came with several improvements again. Random weather patterns, dynamic scenery, and a new sailplane. Yeah, sailplane, plane without an engine. FS4 introduced a number of add-ons that could be bought to create and design custom aircraft and scenery. Again, expanding on the simulator. Make your own planes, design what they look like. Yeah, very exciting stuff. If you are into planes, if you're an aviation enthusiast, this is your dream program, your dream game, yeah. An upgrade add-on was released that would allow higher-end video cards and chipsets to display a resolution of up to 800 by 600. That was back in 1989, so that was very, very good, you know. I think I remember a lot of Windows 95 era monitors. 800 by 600 was often also the max you could display. FS5 released in 1993 and is the first version to use textures, achieving a much higher degree of realism than previously flat shaded objects. In November 1995, Microsoft fully bought Flight Simulator from Bruce Artwick's company BAO, which stands for the Bruce Artwick Organization, but with Bruce staying on as a consultant. So you could say that by November 1995, this was now like it very much was Microsoft's Flight Simulator. It was their own baby now. They bought the rights. They weren't just licensed to make the games. It was their game now.
Yes, and progressing from that, obviously we have Flight Simulator 2020 now. That's the latest iteration of Microsoft Flight Simulator, with the entire world is simulated through the use of Bing Maps satellite imagery. Using artificial intelligence to analyze map data to generate photorealistic buildings, terrain, and other objects, it features realistic real world and real time weather conditions, realistic physics, and impressively modeled aircraft. If you remember when we talk about realistic cities in our previous episode, we mentioned a little bit where you even can rewind the time to the right time in Microsoft Flight Simulator to see how the night sky is during that day, or even if you want to see the eclipse during certain days, and you can actually rewind the time or go to that specific place to watch that in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is just impressive. I've never tried it myself, so don't beat me up if I say it wrong, but that's what people say about it, which sounds impressive.
I think we're a little bit late to the game to be very impressed by Flight
I
Simulator
know, I know.
2020. It's 4 years old at the time of recording, but man, is it impressive. It's like Microsoft Flight Simulator games have always been at the very cutting edge of what a video game can do to portray the realism. Yeah, it's absolutely flabbergasting, to be honest with you. It's very, very, very impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, and with the Microsoft Flight Simulator came in the heat of pandemic. It was such an escape for people to be able to travel around, actually, snooping into, can I see my house in Microsoft Flight Simulator? Which you absolutely can in most cases. So, I think it was such a big bang back in 2020 when it came out.
I'm sure definitely for real pilots too. I mean, there wasn't a lot of planes flying during the pandemic, were they, for a long time, with all the different countries being in lockdown?
Mhm.
And obviously, these pilots, yeah, I'm sure a lot of them, more so than your most other professions, they are actual aviation enthusiasts. They love what they do. It has been their dream. So they probably still want to fly. And I'm sure a lot of it was also to keep, I'm sure a lot of it was also to keep the skills alive, yeah, and the norm of everyday life for them, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you don't have the real setup of, real flight sim with all of those fancy hardware. Most likely you would go to Microsoft Flight Simulator, right?
It must be very important because they also do a lot of courses every now and then to retrain on like common procedures that they must do and situations that they must be able to get around. Or I don't know the exact ones, but obviously, like so, for example, like they must retrain like a stall coming out of a stall
Mm.
like every so often, for example, right?
Yeah, probably. You know what? If there is any player one out there who's like aviation enthusiast or even pilot, let us know, by the way, because we would love to hear from you. What do you think about Microsoft Flight Simulator or how have you used it? So, for the flight simulation enthusiasts that began their virtual flying experience from back in the 1980s, this Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 provides the photorealism and near realistic virtual flying experience that many people have waited for a long time. Combined with a virtual reality headset and advanced flight simulation hardware, EVA's 2020 now offers the level of immersion, fidelity, and realism that for many to experience flight as close to reality as possible right from their desk.
Incredible how far we've come, really. Absolutely incredible. And I love Microsoft Flight Simulator for that because if you want to look at the history of video games, as in the evolution just really quickly, like a time lapse of like, yeah, this is 1972 and coming up to 2024, and you don't want to go into way too much detail, you might want to pick Microsoft Flight Simulator to really observe how far we've come graphically and the step by step, from flat shaded objects to solid objects, and yeah, from black and white to four colors to yeah, now fly through the whole world through satellite imagery. Wow.
Yeah. And this year will be another exciting year, right, for flying enthusiasts because Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is due to be released this year. And apparently it will include a career mode style mission system. You want to expand on that, JP?
There's a lot coming in 2024, and it's nice because I don't have to feel bad now for missing out on Flight Simulator 2020. We still haven't had a go at it, but perhaps, yeah, we can just skip to 2024 when it comes out this year because there's so much coming. There's going to be new mission types, including aerial firefighting, air search and rescue, helicopter cargo hook transport, air ambulance, crop dusting, mountain rescue, skydiving, aerial crane construction, outsize cargo transport with the Airbus Beluga, Arctic cargo transport with the Airbus A400M, VIP air charter and executive transport, air racing, weather reconnaissance, experimental aircraft testing, and nap of the Earth flight with the A10 Warthog. I can't even believe that like you can still put so much into Flight Simulator. Just when you think there's not more you can put in, there's gonna be new aircraft types, including gliders, airships, hot air balloons, and airliners.
So, not only the technology or the career mode and also what type of planes that you're flying, there will also be new environmental feature includes snow, tornadoes, auroras, animal migration and herds, live marine and flight tracking, the four seasons and better ground traffic reporting. Like this is just going to be a massive one.
I can't believe someone came up with the idea, hey, you know what? We should have animal migration and herds in there as well simulated.
I
Like,
know.
what else can you simulate? Are you going to like what else? Honestly, what else is there left that you want to simulate? Yeah. Next is going to be like Sandstorm and like real life war scenarios where, oh, you can't fly over this area because currently that's like, military. Who knows? Yeah. Although crop dusting, they're not the first ones to have crop dusting. I remember GTA San Andreas had crop dusting. So I'm sorry, guys, but GTA did it first.
But who did it better?
Yeah. To throw in a special tip for you, Player One, if you have now got the itch to try out flying for yourself, check out the International Virtual Aviation Organization. They are a non-profit operating a free-of-charge online flight simulation network, better known as IVAO. IVAO.
Yeah.
Join this exciting community in a massive multiplayer aviation world as pilot or even air traffic controller, which is what I would personally try first. I'd
Yeah.
love to be the air traffic controller. Hell yeah.
We're not sponsored, by the way. It's just really interesting because it seems to be like right up your alley, probably, Player One.
Yeah, I like throwing this one in because it's free of charge. So obviously, it's always nice to have our shoutouts being accessible like that. So if you are listening to us, the odds are you have a computer and you could actually play this right now if you wanted to. So if you got the itch, yeah, definitely check out Eval, not a sponsor.
But what about if I want to play like old school flight simulator, JP?
Well, if you would like to take flight in the first 4 flight simulator games, by the way, Player One, you can do so completely for free on GitHub, no downloads required, and I will leave a link in the description.
Well, thank you for joining us, Player One, for this episode. Let us know, do you play Microsoft Flight Simulator? Maybe you have a sick flight sim setup at home for your Microsoft Flight Simulator or other flight simulators. Please do share with us by dropping us a message on our website on gaminghistory.club. New episodes of Gaming History Club are released every second Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe and follow us on our social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook as Gaming History Club.
Yes, come back in a couple of weeks when we shine the light on LGBTQ+ in video games. See ya.